Thank you, Rabbi Peretz, and it's really wonderful to see all of you and to be able to start up the second semester of our year together. In the normal course of events, we would be sitting in a room together, we would be having lunch, and then I would offer you some thoughts and some words of Torah. So I can't offer you the physical sustenance and nourishment, but hopefully something for our hearts, something for our mind, something for our soul to kick us off. And I wanted to start with a really fetching and deep story that's found in the Talmud. And this is found in Shabbat, page 156b. And I will be sending you a source sheet afterwards, so you don't have to write it all down or memorize it. But the story is told about Rabbi Akiva's daughter. And she was told in advance by an astrologer that on the day of her wedding that she was going to be bitten by a snake and she would die from that attack. And of course she was petrified and everyone was terrified and word was out. And on the day of her wedding, as she was getting out of one outfit and into another outfit, she took out her hairpin and casually stuck it in a hole in the wall. Without thinking about it. And later when she pulled the pin out, it was through the head of a snake. And her father, Rabbi Akiva, said to her, there must have been something you did to have earned being saved from the attack of the snake. And she said, well, actually, during the wedding feast, a pauper came to our door. And everyone was so busy with the partying and everything that nobody heard this impoverished person who was starving. And I didn't have anything else available, so I took my meal and I gave it to him. And he said to her, you have performed a mitzvah avadet. And he says that this fulfills the pasuk, the verse that says that tzedakah will save us from death. Now, I want to look at this from one particular angle. I've been thinking about what it means to give a gift, what it means to receive a gift, what does it mean to be the kind of person who's engaged in that kind of exchange. And some of these thoughts come from a wonderful book I've been reading called The Gift by Lewis Hyde. I highly recommend it. It's charming, it's easily accessible, and it's just a wonderful reflection. But he starts by thinking about how we have two ways of transferring stuff. We can either transfer stuff as a commodity, or we can transfer stuff as a gift. And when we transfer as a commodity, we end up claiming exclusive possession of whatever it is that's being exchanged. You go to buy a car, you don't expect a bunch of total strangers to get into the car the minute you bought it. You expect it to be yours. I have a lock on the front door. There's a gate around the house. People own things, and by that they mean to the exclusion of anyone else getting a shot at it. So that commodities are exclusive, they are private, the exchange happens once. You buy the car and then it's bought. That's it. Until someone else commodifies the car, it's no longer on the market. Commodities raise a level of fear because we worry that we're going to lose those commodities or we'll be able to lose the resources to keep them. And so suddenly there's introduced into our lives fear of loss, fear of theft, and a sense of hierarchy. Those that have and those that lack. As opposed to gift giving. Gifts are entirely different. Gifts are acquired by someone's generosity of spirit. Someone has to want to bestow, and generally, many of us, I hope, have been involved in both ends of gift giving and gift receiving. It's often more exciting to give the gift than it is to receive the gift. I know for myself, I've never been able to hold on to a gift for someone. Alana's birthday is coming up in mid-February, and I have the gift in the closet, and several times a day I have to wrestle with wanting to grab it and hand it to her. Yoter mima sheha-egel rotzeh linak, para rotzeh lehanik. More than a calf wants to suck, the cow wants to suckle, wants to give of herself. So that giving comes as an act of generosity, of overflowing your boundaries, and in some sense, you only possess a gift once you share it, right? Either by giving it to someone else and then it's yours forever because you're the one who gave it to them. Bava Batra says that one who gives a gift does so with generosity. Yafeh Yahiv. The generosity of heart builds community. Gift giving is often social. We do it in a group. Hopefully, I'm giving you a gift now in this teaching. You are giving me a gift by being a community that can receive the teaching. We're strengthening our ties with each other in the process of the giving and the receiving, which means we share memories. And we refer to gifts in all kinds of areas in our life. We talk about the gift of life, the gift of time. We talk about children as a gift or grandchildren as a gift, some. We talk about creativity as a gift. And here's another way that gifting enters into the life of the rabbinical school, as we try to bring creativity to the learning that we have with these sacred texts. So in all of these ways, gift giving is central to building a kind of community that is not reduced to commodification, that isn't just a market exchange in which fear and privilege and hierarchy become the dominant expressions. I think about the way gift giving links us on so many levels. When Joseph has the gift of being able to read dreams, what does he attribute that to? Joseph says, it's not me, it's God who's interpreting your dream. Even the gift giving sloshes back and forth in both directions. D.H. Lawrence once wrote, not I, but the wind that blows through me, in speaking about the writing that he was able to do. Our tradition is replete with the giving of gifts. I think of korbanot and the ways that ancient Israel accustomed itself to relate to God by bringing an offering and by gifting God with an expression of gratitude or atonement or acknowledgement of wrongdoing, right? And in that gift giving, it becomes mutual. We actually can give God something. That's what a good third of the Torah is all about, is what do you give to the God who has everything? Well, it turns out you can give an olah, you can give an asham, you can give a chatat, lots that you can give. Pesach, that astonishing institution of our people, the entire community would gather together on the hills of Jerusalem, would live together for a week, would share meals. There wasn't really private property. Your korban was too big for your family. You had to share it with the people around you. And accompanying it were gifts of song and rejoicing and time with your loved ones and time of worship. And then what I want to highlight is the supreme gift of all in our tradition, and that's the Torah itself. No coincidence that we speak about God as Noten HaTorah, the one who gifts us with Torah, because it's public, because it builds community, because it's not based on fear, it's based on hope. It lifts us up. This notion of gift giving and Torah follows along that there has to be in the giving a receiving, a Kabbalat Torah. So the Mishnah says in Kretot, when a person gives a gift, it's with the understanding that the recipients will accept it. Well, how beautiful to think about God gifting us with Torah is predicated on our openness to receiving Torah, which means to be entering into a relationship of mutual engagement and of gratitude, right? And so God takes a risk by the giving, we take a risk by the receiving, and in that we make our own lives better. And because I talked about this before, property commodities are owned exclusively. It's my house. Those are my lemon trees out front. Not so much the way Professor Leibovitz generously shares her lemon trees all the time with all of us, right? But there's a precedent for that as well. In the Darim, the Talmud says that Rabbi Yossi, the son of Rabbi Hanina, noted that the Torah was intended as a private gift to Moses. That's why Moses went up on the mountaintop. That's why Moses and God had alone time. And we know that because we're told in Sefer Shmot, Pasal Lecha, that you write it for yourself. But Moses, he said, treated the Torah with generosity and gave it to the Jewish people. And that's why it says in Proverbs that one who has a bountiful eye will be blessed. Moses' giving of Torah in this portrayal is a choice. It was his Torah. But he knew that a Torah that's sat upon, a Torah that's kept private, that's a Torah that literally will mildew. We know that from Holocaust Torahs, right? That the Holocaust Torahs that sat in a so-called storage room or museum, unopened, unrolled, they rot. This is true for synagogue Torahs as well. They're calling us, open me, turn me, read me, look at something else. It is a gift that keeps on giving. And so Moses exemplifies that. Moses, who is Rabbeinu, is the one who masterfully takes a private gift and launches an entire people through an act of generosity. And in that comes from God. Right? So God, the gift giver, the Noten Torah, Moshe Rabbeinu, a Noten Torah, and we step into that place. Last thing, we started with the story of weddings. You know that Sinai is understood by our tradition to be a wedding as well. That this is a yichud moment, that the clouds represent the canopy, the chuppah, and that the Jewish people and God are wed to each other at Sinai, with the Torah, in a sense, being the ketubah, the terms by which we will relate to each other. We come from a tradition of flowing gift giving and of gracious and grateful gift receiving. And so as we come together at the beginning of this semester to learn with each other, I want to invite us into that space of perpetual simcha, of a great wedding feast. And we are called to enter that feast, but you can't enter it as a commodity. God knows there are Jews who try to reduce the Torah to a commodity, reducing it to a set of guilt-inducing rules so that nobody crosses over the boundaries that they're supposed to cross. But that's not what it is. It's not a commodity. It's a gift. And when you give a gift, you reciprocate by giving something else of great value. So as we come together to receive Torah, to be able to share Torah, let's make it not just our private property, but something public, something that strengthens us as a community, which means that at the end, we become the gift, the giver of the gift, the receiver of the gift, and the gift itself, each of us and all of us. So friends, here's my blessing for all of us. This semester, I bless us that we will each of us receive the gift of Torah and receive it as the gift that it's meant to be. You will have the opportunity to study with some of the finest teachers in the world, people who have great and rigorous learning, but also live exemplary and very diverse lives. Learn from all of them. Learn from every moment, but take it not as a commodity, but as a gift. We are part of a beautiful community of caring, forced to be physically separate by this plague that's enveloped the world. May we start to lift out of it soon. But nothing can sever our connections to each other, because they are connections of heart, because they are connections of history, because we share a vision and a destiny, because we are linked by God's and Moses' gift of Torah. May we be gift givers to the rabbinate, so that each of us, as we live our aspirations, find ourselves shining a light in the world that would otherwise not be so visible. And in that light, we illumine each other and we lift each other up. And then finally, may we be gift givers to the world. This is, I don't need to tell any of you, a broken, broken world. And our rage and our hurt and our harm is extensive, and we have a long cleanup ahead of us. But if we can enter that with the spirit of gift giving, our fighting for righteousness, our fighting for justice, our embracing the wounds of others, not merely our own, and lifting them up with us, that may well be our greatest gift. So I bless you with the blessing of a gift of Torah, the blessings of the gift of a broad heart that overflows its bounds, the blessings of a spirit that knows how precious it truly is. Shalom, everybody.